Alright, hey guys, it's Desiree. If you're new, welcome to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I appreciate each and every one of you. Today's video is going to be me just kind of like going over like my G2 experience with you guys. I did this video for my G1 experience. I'll put it in the iCards. So I figured it's only fair to do it for my G2 as well. And I have like a unique perspective on my G2 because I did it twice and both times are very different. So we're gonna jump right in. I'll give you like the brief overview the first time, and then I will give you the overview of the second time where I actually passed. I also did vlog the day of my G2 experience. So once you get your G1, you then do like your driver's ed, which is where you do like, it's normally like a 2-day class. And then you do your in-cars. So I did my driver's ed, which helps you get your license faster, or is supposed to anyway. So after you do, if you do driver's ed, you can then try to get your G2 within 8 months. I did my in classes, on my driver's ed with my friend and my sister. And then I just did not schedule my in-cars for a very long time. I was really nervous about scheduling my in-cars because I was going to be driving with like someone else besides like my parents. So I was really nervous about it. And like honestly, I had not driven, like my mom had not taken me driving like at all. My mom had not taken me driving like at all. It just was like my older sister was driving as well at that point. So she would drive or my mom would drive, and I just didn't really like, I wasn't super assertive about taking time to drive either because I was kind of nervous about it. So I did not drive for a while, and then finally I decided to do my in-cars, and I did drive very small amount before I did my first in-car. And I remember getting in the in-car and the driving instructor had asked me like, how many hours have you been driving? And I was like, maybe 2 collectively. Like I haven't been. He was like, oh, okay, well, there's nothing we can do about it now. Let's just go ahead and drive. When I was done my in-cars, you're usually expected to like go get your G2 right after you do your in-cars. That's like kind of the expectation. He was like, you'll do fine on your in-cars. It'll be great. Go for it. And I was like, all right, cool. And then again, I was really nervous. Driving tests make me so nervous. I was really nervous to go. So again, I didn't schedule my G2 test for a long time. I finally scheduled it. The day of my first G2 test came up, and I was like, and my mom had been pestering me, schedule it, and my sister was scheduling her G test at the same time. So I was like, okay, I will schedule my G2 on the same day she schedules her G, so we could go to the city where we were doing the G2 tests, or doing our tests at the same time. So I scheduled mine the same day of hers, just like a little bit of a different time. So I get there, and I told my mom, I said, I have not been driving. Since my in-cars, I have not been driving, and I said, we need to drive before I go so I have some experience, so I'm not super nervous. And unfortunately, that did not happen. And I did not think I was going to pass. Like I was like, I've literally barely been driving. I would not drive by myself at this point in time, so why would someone else agree to let me drive by myself at this time? So I get in the car with my guy. He says hello to me, we fill out the paperwork, and then we start driving, and he does not say another word to me. We just do not talk. I'm scared in my mind, and this man does not try to make conversation. He doesn't talk to me, which they're not supposed to, or at least that's what you're told. I wasn't expecting him to talk to me, but it definitely made like an even more tense atmosphere. I was just gradually getting more and more anxious because this man was like making comments but not saying anything else to me. So he was just basically pointing out all my errors but saying nothing else. So I was like really stressed. I was very uncomfortable the whole time. But it was just, and then he was like, okay, let's go back to the thing. And I was like, okay. And so we went back and we parked, and he was like, okay, you did not pass. You need to like use your blinker more. You need to check your mirrors more, and something else. Like he was very like, which is fine. Honestly, like I said, I did not expect to pass, but then he was like, okay, have a nice day, and he left. He got out of the car and he left, and I was like, well, what's done is done. I came back home after that time, and I just didn't do anything again. I was like, well, I'm just not going to drive again. It's fine. Excuse me, that's mine. So then I went another couple months without driving, but like I knew I had to get my license, so I would drive like very few times. Sometimes I would drive my friend home. after she was over, but she only lives like 5 minutes away from me, or I would just like drive my mom into town for groceries, but like very few times. I was not driving consistently. I was only driving like very short little spurts of time. And so for a while that's all I did, and then a couple months ago I was like, okay, I need to actually like start driving more if I ever want to drive. I was getting really tired of being stuck at home all the time. We started doing more driving. I started asking to drive more. I started asking my mom to take me out driving, and I just started driving like more consistently. Still not like every single day, not like a ton, but just more consistently, in that I was driving where I felt like I was like getting better because I was consistent with it. Whereas beforehand, and this is really important I find with driving, is that you need to drive consistently, because then you make progress. Where if you drive like 1 week and then you don't drive for months, you kind of forget everything you learned, because you learn by continually doing things, right? So I finally started to be like, okay, I'm beginning to feel more comfortable. I'm beginning to understand that these things will kind of become nature, like first nature for you. For me, a couple months go by and we're in the car and we're talking about the drive tests, and because of COVID everything was really backed up. I had heard that a lot of people were trying to book their drive test, but we're having to book like a year later. So I was like, you know what, let me go on and book my drive test now, because even though I don't want to do it this week or like this, like right this moment, I probably won't get anything for a couple months anyway. So I go on, and lo and behold, there's literally an appointment for the next day, and there's an appointment for the next week. And I was like, I don't want either of those. Like, that doesn't sound good to me. But otherwise, there was nothing until January, I think. So I was like, I don't want to be doing my drive test in the snow. So, and my mom was like, just get it over with. And I was feeling spontaneous, clearly. So I booked it for the next week. And I was so stressed. I was like, oh, this is not a good idea. But the feeling leading up to my drive test this time was so much different than the time before, because the time before, every time I thought about it, I felt like I was going to throw up. I was so nervous. And while I was still nervous, this second time that I did it, my mindset was just completely different, because I had been driving like a little more consistently. I felt a lot more comfortable. So I was less nervous. So I didn't feel like I was going to throw up leading up to it. Like, I was nervous, but I wasn't that nervous. And I was just like, okay, like, I might not pass, but we're going to do it. So, and I feel a little bit more comfortable. So, the day of my drive test, I drove there. So, upon, like, getting to my drive test, I went in, I did everything. I didn't start feeling like I was going to throw up until I was sitting in my car waiting for the driving instructor. That's when I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to puke. And thankfully, I didn't. So, now this is like the actual test, which I'm sure is what you're most excited to hear about. And honestly, it's a story I enjoy telling, because this time went incredibly different than the time before, and just like, I couldn't have asked for a better experience doing my test than I had the second time around. What happens when you're going for your drive test is you line it. There's all these cars in this like there's different parking spots all lined up next to the building for people who are about to take their drive test, and you have to wait in your car for an instructor or a test person or whatever to come out to your car. And so I was waiting in my car for them to come out, and I was watching other instructors go to cars, and it was like stressing me out. So I saw one guy go, and I was like, okay, he looks like fairly nice. Then I saw another guy go, and I was like, that's the guy I had last time, and I really hope I don't get him again. And nothing against him, but I was like, now I kind of have like bad like memories from that time, right? So I was like, I hope I don't get him. So I was a little worried, but when I saw him, then there was another lady who came out. She looked like she was having a bad day. So she did have a bit of an argument with the girl and her dad, who's she did end up testing. And I could see that, and I could see she was really upset and annoyed by it. And that stressed me out, because I was like, now she's in a bad mood. So if I get her, I'm going to be way more nervous about my test, because I can tell she's already in a bad mood. Thankfully, I didn't get her. Another guy ended up coming out, and I was like, oh man, this guy's for me. So my mom started to walk away from my window where she was standing, and she walked past him, and she asked him a question, and about like where we were gonna park afterwards or something, and they started like they had a little chat, and I remember he started laughing, and I was like, oh, he's laughing, that's a good sign, I think. Like, I was like, okay, so he's friendly. Which, like I said, the other guy I had beforehand hadn't like talked to me, hadn't joked around, like nothing. He was just like, I'm here to do my job, and my job is to not talk to you. And I was like, sir, I think I'm uncomfortable. So I walked up to my window, he asked me like a question, and I told him what road I lived on, and he was like, oh my gosh, we just had a guy in here that lived on that road. He's like, that must be a really long road. And I said, yeah, it is. And he just like made friendly conversation, and I was joking around because there's like this like urban legend that the road I live on is haunted. So I like mentioned that, and he started telling me about like a ghost story. Just like immediately like, made me feel way more comfortable and way more relaxed because he was talking to me like I was like a human being. So I was like, okay, cool. So then he got in the car with me after we like checked my signals and everything, and we literally sat there so he could tell me the story, and then he had to go over like a checklist of stuff, and he was like, oh, like, do you need glasses to drive? And I said no, and he said, and he's going over and over all these questions. Then we get to the end, and he goes, and how haunted is your road? And like just casually, as if it was like another question on the test, and I started laughing, and I was like, immediately like I felt 100% comfortable. I didn't feel like I was going to throw up anymore. I was like, I can do this. This man is so friendly. So we started to pull out and started driving, and as we were about to pulling out the parking lot, my mom was standing over on the corner because obviously I take the car, so she's just waiting outside. And he said, oh look, there's your mom. And then I go and look, and he goes, oh, she's not even paying attention, she doesn't care. And I was laughing, I was like, no, she really doesn't. So we were joking around about like the fact that my mom was like not even paying attention to me driving at all. And he was talking about how like he's like the youngest sibling and just like relating to me and like sharing stories about like his childhood and his life, and it just made me 100 times more comfortable. We ended up turning into this like little like neighborhood where someone was throwing a dresser on the side of the road, and he was like, oh, like the last girl I had was ready to help me load it up in her car so I could take it home because I really want it. And I was like, I was just laughing because like, one, I totally would have done that too, and two, it was just, he was so friendly and just made me feel so comfortable. Like I felt like I was just driving with a friend, just having a little chat. And then when I did my parallel parking, even though I practiced and did fine, I don't know why I did really bad. And he was like, it's okay, don't worry about it. And he's like, you'll still pass. And I was like, oh, sir, thank you. Like, he just like told me these things. I mean, like, even though he was like, you did this wrong, he was like, you'll still pass, don't worry about it. So I wasn't like stressed out in my mind being like, oh my god, I've already failed, right? So then you have to pull over, you park on the side door. They ask you, which way do you turn your wheels? Like, how do you put your wheels when you're parked on a downhill? I have no idea how, like, I was like right, and he goes downward, and I was like left. He's like looking at me, I'm like, is that wrong? I have no idea. Like, I'm genuinely asking at this point because I'm like, I don't know, dude, like, I don't know. And he goes, well, okay. He goes, because we already know that you don't know, I'll teach you how. And I was like, thanks. So he literally gave me like a lesson on like how to properly park my car on a hill, which I thought was so nice because he did not have to do that. He could have just marked me wrong. And I thought that was so kind. And then he was like, that's okay, don't worry about it. And I was like, great, thanks. We drove back to the drive test center. He was like, you passed. So I passed. And I was like, sir, like, honestly, I don't hug people, but I was like, I could hug you right now. Because I was so nervous to go. I was so nervous the first time and had such a bad experience that this second time going and him being so friendly and just so kind and making it such a comfortable experience for me was like so amazing. And honestly, I think that's how like all of them should be. So overall, experience was 10 out of 10. It was really quick too, like it was a 5-minute drive. Otherwise, if you guys have any video ideas, please comment them down below. On top of that, you guys know the drill, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you all next week. Peace out.